Hi, and welcome to Filster Instructions. We're going to go over some things that we get a lot of questions about, especially from people who have just opened their Filster product. Those questions revolve around the snaps, loops, and struts that are used to carry the holster. You'll notice that your Filster product probably came with a pull-the-dot snap. The pull-the-dot snaps are directional mil-spec snaps, which can be very frustrating when they're brand new. They only operate in one direction. You have to unsnap them from the top to the bottom, and you have to snap them from the bottom to the top. They can be very firm when they're new, and new users may need to use a flathead screwdriver to loosen these up a little bit. You can get the screwdriver in between the male and female parts of the snap and give it a little wiggle, and they'll break in pretty nicely. They'll always get easier to use, but they never get less secure. The reason they're directional is because the snap has a bit of a collar, the male portion does, and the female portion has a little bit of a tab at the bottom. The tab needs to fit under the collar and then snap up. The loops, as you can see here, are adjustable to fit different belt widths. This will accommodate everything from 1 1/4 to 1 3/4 wide gun belt. There's no hard and fast rule for which hole fits which belt because the thickness of the belt also impacts how this fits. So for example, right here, I have a belt which is 1 1/2 belt, but depending on where you wrap the loop over, you're encountering a different amount of fabric. So on this part of the belt, it's set up for the middle hole, and on this part of the belt, it's set up for the top hole. The performance of your holster depends on the interface between the holster and the belt being nice and firm. If this is loose and sloppy, if this is loose and sloppy and poorly adjusted, your holster won't feel very good. It'll move around and it'll feel way too tight as that slop interferes with the retention of the holster. To adjust the way the loop fits the belt, simply take your Phillips head screwdriver, remove the Phillips head screw from the center of the male portion of the snap, remove the snap and the screw, and remove the loop from the strut. Then simply reinsert the screw and male portion of the snap into whichever position you think will fit your belt best, and then reassess. What you'll also notice at this point is that there's a slot in the back of the strut. What you can do at this point is also adjust the height of the loop relative to the holster, which can increase the height at which the holster rides in the pants. So if you want the holster to stick high above your belt line, move this screw post to the bottom of the strut. If you don't, move it to the other end, or pick any position in between which fits you the best. And then simply reinstall this all in the position of your choice. And once you've discovered the way you prefer this to fit, put a little dab of blue Loctite on the screw and you're good to go and it won't move. You can also make adjustments to the angle at which the strut interfaces against the holster. You'll see that the center hole here is oblong, which means you can loosen the screw on the back of the holster and make adjustments to how the strut lands on the holster. Make sure to tighten it back up and Loctite these screws. You can also switch the holster from right to left-handed by removing these screws and transposing the entire strut and spacer assembly to the opposite side of the holster. I hope this answers most of the questions that you have about your brand new holster or knife sheath. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email us.